The Uncle Gold Podcast.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Uncle Gold Podcast. My name is Borna Zuber, and I started this podcast to provide value to everybody because I feel that if you're here, you probably didn't have the rich uncle that taught you how to get gold in life. So we're going to bring on cool guests and talk about interesting topics to provide the value to everybody listening and watching on the YouTube channel. And today I have my friend here, Olivier Simonnet. We met at a conference about mindset and how to develop yourself. And we became really good friends through that. We had a lot of fun there, and kind of the connection stuck there. And Olivier, welcome to the podcast.
Hi everyone.
I'm great, man. Thanks for being here. Love to have you. I kind of felt that we connected there on the conference really in like a really short period of time. Usually during a conference, there's a lot of stuff happening and people running around. But I felt we kind of connected on that lunch there. But for everybody that doesn't know you, can you do like a short intro on what you do, who you are, and kind of how this whole story got started?
I'm not really sure where to start exactly, but yeah, my name is Olivier Simonnet. I'm French. I've been living in the UK now for about 15 years. Come initially from the south of France, a beautiful place between Marseille and Nice, and where a lot of people are like, what are you doing in London? And London has attracted me by the vibe, the energy, the groove that it has. So I've been now doing management consulting and strategy consulting and strategic engagement, account management type role for 10, 15 years. So I've always wanted to help company in the sense that my dad is a doc, my mom is a nurse, and always had this will to help. So it transformed through consulting, and we'll probably discuss that a bit further. Now I'm in the process of challenging a bit my own thoughts, and this program that we attended together was part of that change of mindset, change of developing oneself further. And so there are a few things that over the last now year has popped up, and little projects, initiatives, trying to become a coach. So there are a lot of things, and well, that was not the case when we met. So it's kind of like a new thing. So so plenty we can talk about, and yeah, quite excited to be here and share some of the learning from either your beloved Les Brown or other. Some of my favorite Tony Robbins and others, but I will, answer the question and try to have.
Perfect. I would really love us to go into self-development and all of that. I think it's one of the main focuses of this show. But also tell me, how did the whole story start with you with the financial industry? And I know that's interesting to a lot of people. Like, how do you get into a job like that one?
So my job, actually, what I'm doing at the moment, you mean?
The financial investment and consulting business. How did you get into that?
Yeah, well, after my study, really, I came to London just with a backpack. I don't know if with Brexit, that's something that people will be able to do in the future, but fact of the matter, at the time, that was something possible. And came here and looked a bit around what was going on. And one day, and yeah, actually thinking about it, it's too often people walk head down and they are not looking head up around what's the opportunity that are around them, right? And I'm just going to make a parallel there, because what happened is, like, I was walking in the street and I walked in front of like an agency, a recruitment agency, and I saw something that looked like me, like literally it was me on the written. Is like shit. So I pushed the door, and then 3 weeks later I was starting in the company. And I guess a lesson there is that really opportunities are all around us. Is just kind of like looking at them, or looking at really what things are around us, rather than taking things for granted. And there is a fantastic book on that topic called The Luck Factor. So for your listener, is like someone who is deconstructing the where some people believe they have luck and others believe that they don't have luck. And then all of a sudden, when you understand how the lucky people have what they have, or why they are lucky, you realize that it's a lot of things is acknowledging what is around them, and kind of like going through that positive mental motion. Anyway, I'm just going a bit on tangent, but so I pushed the door, starting there, and happened that the person who hired me at the time, who was my boss for a few good years, went up rather well in the organization, and he brought me with him, and I went up with him. So it's a mix of serendipity, a mix of luck, for, if you want to call that this way, but I don't really believe in luck. It's just like something that happened at that time, in that moment, and you recognize. But I think it's I didn't ask myself too much question at the time, and I think it's about believing in you, and pushing the door, is getting the right contact. It's today you got plenty of tools like LinkedIn. So I guess is getting your background, and understanding what you want, doing your homework, and then push the door, but let the luck happen as well for you.
Mm-hmm. And how did the job look like? Like, to me, managing money for other people sounds like a lot of responsibility, and I feel that.
Just to be clear, I'm not a money manager, and this is not what I'm doing. I'm not managing funds or things like that. What I'm doing is, like, clients come to us with a strategic issue. So it's not about money. It's about how can I grow my market share? How can I develop in new industries? So basically what you are doing, you are looking at you basically do market analysis, if you want, around a given segment, sector, industry, whatever it is. Then you understand where the client is at, their strength, their weaknesses, where they want to go. And then how do you bring that together? And then you develop a plan to help them achieve their goal rate. So it's a mix between the external landscape, like where the company is at, and kind of like how can they close the gap to go where they want.
Mm-hmm. Sounds awesome, man. That sounds really interesting, and I see similarities there. What I do in my work, it's business development, and we kind of analyze where companies are going, and since it's a recruitment agency, we try to find the right people for them, but it also boils down a lot on their strategy and how they want to do it. And we usually talk about like the plans for the whole year, and try to kind of see what the projections will be, and kind of like how it will be divided throughout the months. So I kind of see some similarities there.
Yeah.
And what are some of the experiences? Like, what's the hardest part about that? Like, is it, for me, it's always kind of like communication, because when you get on the right vibe with the person, when they kind of really connect, then everything seems like it's kind of going smoother, and to more communication, you get there a lot faster. What have you recognized are some of the sticking points for people where it kind of goes slower, on what can be improved there, maybe?
Some of the challenges of sticking point are, first, not everyone is versed into the aspect of consulting. Some people see that as like something that threatens their own existence, which is not kind of like the case at all. I guess another is the pace that you are going to, and then your client need to go at the same pace as you. And then the biggest, I think, is challenging one thought, and by that it's the same thing in coaching, and it's the same thing as well in consulting, in a way, in the sense that it's it's always very delicate um, to tell someone or an organization that there is maybe better way to do that, or there is different way of doing it. So if you got the right support, if you got the right engagement, that works. If you don't, well, that might be a bit of an uphill battle, right? Because they might not want to change, and so I guess the like everything in life, the result will be shown on the action. Because you can have the best plan in the world, you can have the best ideas in the world, you can have the best strategy in the world. If you don't have the action to implement, to do something, starting with the first step, it won't go anywhere. And sometimes the best strategies start with a bit of action. So I guess I think there are a lot of sticking point in the course of what you do between people and so on. But I think action and taking charge of the changes is the probably the where most company fail.
Mm, yeah, I agree. Have you noticed a lot of companies fail now during COVID? I honestly have a feeling that those that are doing well right now are the type of companies that are actually really fast on embracing change and trying to kind of like change stuff really, really fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. And when you say your intro statement was like a lot of company failed, yeah, but a lot of company are succeeding. So why are they succeeding? Why are some people doubling their money in a crisis when some are losing money? And maybe if someone is delegating, is not worry, not worry is not the right word, but like not concerned, doesn't keep his finger on the pulse, assume things, is not reactive, don't try to embrace some of the changes which might be, hey, use Shopify today, right? Have your company online. Oh, I don't want to use online. Well, fact of the matter, if you don't, I mean, it's you're smart, but you got some people that will think like that, and like, okay, so I'm trying to help you, but if you don't want to help yourself, well, you cannot complain of the outcome then. Now, I mean, that said, I'm not suggesting that that the people who are losing off today, it's their fault. But what I'm saying is that they are when there are challenges, there are other opportunities.
Mhm, mhm. I agree. What would be some of the opportunities that you see right now? Like you mentioned Shopify earlier, and obviously it's e-commerce because of the whole lockdown situation. Everyone's kind of at home, and all the reports that I've seen show basically that everything that was kind of trading online did actually a lot better than it used to, just because a lot of people started using it more.
Opportunity in what sense?
For instance, if somebody is watching or listening to this podcast and thinking about like, how can I improve my company? What would be some of the ideas that you would give them, kind of like where to look at?
Well, I mean, I would say, how can you enable and empower people to work through? How can you make your workforce and your structure more resilient? By yeah, you mentioned working from home. So, do you have the right IT infrastructure and tools in place for it? Is your service fit the the next generation? How many clients? Is your book of client diversified enough for you not to fear losing one or two? So are you cycle proof somehow? Can you still generate revenue from your maybe existing clients? Because it seems that there is whatever industry you look at, there is way less new business, because it's difficult to generate new business, but there is as well way less retention issue, because a lot of companies are not putting their whatever it is to tender today, because you don't want to tender in a word as it is, because you got other thing to worry about, right? But I think it's about taking ownership and responsibility. So now you can say, yeah, but what does that mean if I have a restaurant, right? I have a restaurant. What does and we all have seen things of people going offline and going online, and I mean that could be building recipe, writing a book. It could be what could be like, could be a webcast series about Italian food. I don't know if you like an Italian restaurant. I'm just like then you can brainstorm, but I think that fundamentally that there are things that can be done, and that but need to be thought outside of the box. And yeah.
I noticed that a lot of restaurants switched from only eating in to kind of takeaway and delivery versions, and that kind of kept them going through this last few months. And of course, there were a lot of restaurants that said, no, we're not going to do that, and just a locked door, and that's kind of it. I think it boils down to kind of like how you're perceiving the whole situation, because some people will react and be like, oh no, this is terrible, this is the end, right? And just close down their restaurant. And some people will be like, oh no, like we're going to keep fighting, we're going to try think of something new, or like maybe copy something that's working for other people. And I think those are some really strong principles that you can see in the success mindset and the self-development field that we were talking about earlier, because a lot of people in my mind felt stuck during this last few months, and basically didn't know what to do, and they kind of stopped trying. And I believe that most solutions come not when you stop, but when you kind of keep going and keep searching for new opportunities, or maybe new ways how to do something. Tell me, how did your self-development journey start, and where did you kind of realize that, oh, I need to start working on myself?
Yeah, and I like what you said earlier. I mean, you need to hustle, and you need to to have the grit and hustle and keep going for it. So to answer your question, in my journey started 10 years ago, pretty much exactly, with an NLP weekend. Neuro-linguistic programming weekend. I had a friend who went to one of those weekends, and I know we had a beer, and it was like, man, I went to this weekend. It was amazing. They talk about the communication and all that sort of thing, but in a very different way, like how your brain work and stuff. And thought, wow, cool. That sounds quite interesting. I've always been kind of like good generally around people and stuff. And I was like, oh, that would be interesting to deconstruct the articulation of what I'm doing good, to do more of that, to understand the building blocks, the principles that underpin that, right? So I went for this weekend. This weekend led me on to doing an NLP practitioner. So I took 1 week off work, and instead of traveling and going far on this planet, I went far on my brain. I was not anticipating that. I was like, I was thinking of learning about how you communicate with people. That was probably done in the first half day of the first day, or the first day. And then it's like, shit, now there are 6 days. What are we going to learn? So you learn about hypnotherapy. You learn about something called the Gestalt. You learn about all those sorts of concepts that's the NLP brings. And in that time, a name from the guy was thrown a couple times by the name of Tony Robbins. And I thought, oh shit, that's quite interesting. So if the name came a few times, and something like looking at the guy, and it's like, wow, he has written books and blah blah blah. So I started reading his book, and like, oh shit, this is really amazing. And then I went in 2013 to one of Tony Robbins' events, and for those who listen or the news or walked on fire and stuff, and I really enjoy the experience. It was 4 days. We were about 8,000 in Excel in London, and it was just like mind blowing. You come out of it like as a lion. You're like, I'm going to eat the world. I'm going to like kind of like make a change to this planet, and I'm going to go for my dream and purpose and all that. And I would say that has helped me, and that has pushed me and drive me for say 3, 4 good years, for 5 good years. And well, I kept on reading, learning, developing, traveling, all these sorts of things. I love discovering and getting information and really developing myself. And so then in 2018, I was like, oh, you know what? I would fancy going back to UPW again. So under Unleash the Power Within, which is Tony Robbins' event. And I didn't. And I was like, oh, CDU, you should have gone. And I went in 2019, so last year. And then last year last year what I did, yeah. So I went to UPW, and at the end I was like, okay, so you did that about 6 years ago. If you want to move further, do you just stick there or do you do more? And I subscribe to, I would say that to answer back to your question, my personal development has been skyrocketed over the last 18 months. Because so at that point, I was like, am I staying there or am I really kind of like putting myself in a more challenging environment and do something in a different way? And I subscribed to another Tony Robbins event. And then I went to Tenerife for 8 days with 500 amazing souls last August. And then so in that training it was about life and about wealth. And this is how then I went on to other training like for the rest of the year. And this is where I went to the Millionaire Mindset Intensive, where I was like, okay, so I did the Tony Robbins one. Let's do the Harvecker because I've heard about it. And let's see how it compares. And it was not even like an idea of comparing. Like, let's see what else I can learn from it. So last year, in a way, 2019 I've been a yes man. I've been, okay, give me intel, give me things to chew, give me more. Which I don't think we've ever stopped. But so I took a lot on. I started as well to be coached in November, which I love. The experience is just it's an amazing journey. And I'm now kind of like training to become a coach. I'm developing a website and a brand called My Growth Mastery, and I will come and maybe do a podcast with you at some point.
Awesome.
But so I'm developing a brand called My Growth Mastery with a blog and other stuff around personal development. And yeah, this is where I am right now. Always love and I've watched a lot of YouTube video as well over the past 2, 3, 4 years now. A lot of Lisa Nichols, for those who know her, Les Brown, who's fantastic, Brendan Bouchard, Tony Robbins, Joe Dispenza. Yeah, so all those guys have their own view, their own aspects. Then you got different school of thoughts, and then how do you build your Ed Milet as well? That I like. Milieu. I mean, then it's like, how do you build your own brand? What it's not brand, but how do you make it your own? And some people will talk to you more than other because they will use different language, but bottom line, they all say the same thing somehow, right? Sorry, that was a very long-winded way. Started 10 years ago, different kind of like milestone, and basically, and many of my milestones have been linked to this guy called Tony Robbins, and then really accelerated and decided to accelerate that over the last 18 months.
Nice, man. And don't worry about it. This is intended as a long forward. So the longer the explanation in my mind, it's better, because people can then hear like these small nuances, like how things developed. Because if you say like, oh, I just went to a Tony Robbins seminar and went from there, people don't get that much detail. So
Yeah.
Don't hold back, man.
Okay.
I wanted to ask you, for becoming a coach, did you go through the company where we went through the Millionaire Mindset Intensive, or was it somewhere else?
No, do you have any affiliate with them in any way?
No, I'm just doing my own thing here on YouTube and on the podcast.
Okay. So, well, and I didn't hide it to the people that I was in groups with at the end. I didn't buy into her car training really. I thought it was really hard sell, and it was I didn't appreciate the style and where it came from.
I kind of feel the same. If I can jump in there for a second, I felt like the sales were pushed a little bit too hard.
Yeah.
And if you want, we can talk about sales in general, like how it's beneficial. But I felt there, like, it's not like a here, take it or leave it. It was kind of like, yeah, you have to take this one, or like now's the last chance. But of course, there's no last chance, right? There's always the next seminar.
I mean, even beyond that, and what I learned after is he's known, and his seminar are known. Well, I didn't know that, but in the sales world, they are known to trick the people, because they are using some analogy and some way of framing the words that is said. So they say something there, they say something there, and then they get in. And those are sales technique that you agree or not with, that exist, that have existed for many years, but it's not where you are in control of your own judgment almost, right? Anyway, so we are slightly diverging. So no, the thing is, like, they don't do coaching. One coaching is, so what I did is I interviewed several coach whom I know from that event, Tony Robbins. Well, the thing is, like, the way it worked is, as I was in Tenerife, I mingled with a lot of, really amazing and fantastic people, but some super wealthy, some people that went through some shit in their life that you don't want that to happen to your worst enemy, and that have pulled themselves up to a point that now they are, very good at something, have built a family or whatever, and you're like, wow, kind of like amazing. And so you have this bunch of people, and out of those, a lot of them were coached, and that kind of like, that made me tick. That was the first thing. Then when I came back, a friend of mine who is rather successful, she's painting, she's like in the fashion industry, she's doing so much. She was like, do you know someone who could be a coach, actually? And I was like, wow, that's what in my head is like, why someone who is already achieving so much need a coach? And actually, what dawned on me is that probably the reverse is probably because you are supported and helped on your blind spots, on where you don't know, where you are missing things, on unlooping your own thinking, on asking yourself different questions, on being, kept accountable, on putting your objectives on paper, on all those sorts of things. I was like, oh, but maybe it's because she has a coach that she goes there. So then I started to be coached, and then I'm doing that since the beginning of the year. And then I'll go back to what you said earlier. When COVID arrived, yeah, I should have mentioned that. I should be now in Asia, working in Singapore, doing the same thing that I'm doing in London. COVID has thrown a massive spinball in my face and in my life. Now, two ways to look at it, and it's funny, I had a conversation with a colleague of mine who was bemused by the fact that I was joyful and smiling at the situation. by the way, we can get that, as I know that you want to know what my routine is, and for now about 18 months, I'm meditating every morning, and but anyway, so I'm just being a bit on tangent, but anyway, point being is just that I have stopped taking events for what they are not, and building my own story about it rather than taking it for what they are and assessing them for what they are in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And there is this book that is sorry, I'm throwing books as well, like along the, if that's cool with
Bye,
you.
man.
Yeah, cool. The Obstacle is the Way, where by Ryan Holiday, where actually what he's saying is like obstacles, life is an obstacle. Full stop. I mean, it's almost like we can stop there. Life is an obstacle. And if you don't want to have obstacle, you know what? Fucking stay on the sofa. And even there, maybe the Netflix is not going to work. It's going to be an obstacle of not doing anything. So what do you do? So you have to find life, as your beloved Les Brown would say, is a serious matter. Life doesn't come easy, like you need to either design it or it's designed, for you. Anyway, so at some point I'm like, okay, so shit keeps on happening, and then all of a sudden, early in the COVID situation, I was like, but I really like what my coach is giving me. I love helping people grow. How about I am doing that to other people? How about I'm doing that? How about I'm helping other? How about I'm kind of like trying to help other finding their own self, igniting their own dream, inspiring their own success, right? And at the moment, this is kind of like what is working in like I got all the building blocks I'm doing, and so I started discussing with my coach at the time, and she recommended, and for anyone who listen and who is interested maybe in that path, the ICF, which is the International Coaching Federation, because coach, you got everything and anything, right? Is today a lot of people say that they are coach and they haven't been to any sort of structured, and I don't want to sound too French, like, oh, if you don't have the right diploma, who are you to say anything, right? And as sorry, I'm paraphrasing a lot of people, but as Tony Robbins said, well, he has a PhD in results. So at the end of the day, what counts is result, right? And full stop. I buy that 200%. Now, when you don't know, either you go and fuck it up, and you don't know what you're doing, and then you assume that you are, and you say that it is, or you learn from people, you learn from the best, or you learn for some people who are somehow accredited. So I started looking at different training, and then I picked one that is in London, called Coaching Development. A bit of publicity here. They are really really good. The guy's been doing that for 30 years. Has written books. The one who is going to give us the training next time is as well reading books and stuff. Sorry, writing books, reading stuff. Anyway, and so a very nice cohort of people, a lot of practice, and I'm going to start hopefully coaching soon. I haven't. We've started coaching each other, and I am going to start coaching people anytime soon. For any listener, if you're interested. But I guess the conclusion of this comment there is well, I mean, we went in different direction, and you can take it in different direction as well. But what I really love about coaching is, and what is really hard is a coach is not your Les Brown. It's not your Tony Robbins. It's someone who is just silence and who listen to you and who asks you a few questions to help you unloop yourself. So it's not what people say, right? Oh yeah, so You are going to give me answer. No, I'm not fucking going to give you answer. However, I am going to be 200% present with you in that moment to listen to you, but to listen to you. It's not kind of like half listening. It's just like, and this is really hard to listen to someone, right? And as you are doing right now, and you're like, okay, well, what am I going to say? Am I going to pick on that point, in that point, or the laundry behind just finished? And I don't know, maybe you have the laundry or the cooking. I don't know where you are, but being present 100% with someone, listening to them, deeply listening to them. It's just like monks in Bhutan and in like Laos are spending their life to try to hone what present in this moment is, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't have the arrogance to say that I'm kind of like a monk and they're ready. But it's kind of like the element of how can I be present with you to serve you, to help you go wherever you want to go. And this is really hard to be empty of thoughts. Oh, sorry, empty of assumption, empty of preconceived ideas, empty of your own biased view of what should and should not, because that will only come from you. So yeah, that has been how the coaching came about. So no, I didn't go through, sorry, we talked about sales, we talked about the coaching, we talked about how the ICF, couple books, but no, I didn't go with this millionaire mindset training that is more fluff and hot hair than content. Yeah. And I'm a content guy, and I want content. I want things that I will learn, that I will use, and someone who is oversetting is not working for me.
Yeah, I agree on that one. I always think back of what Tony said once, is that he went to a whole bunch of seminars and read a lot of books and talked to a lot of people. And he's like, I know like 90% of what they're saying, or even 99% of what they're saying. But if I get like one idea that can help me, that's still valuable for me. And I try to focus on that. I learned a lot, to be honest, there, like some concepts that I haven't heard about, some things that were new. Some of them I really kind of recognized from other places that seemed even like copy pasted completely, but there were elements that I enjoyed, and I as well didn't decide to go with them. I felt like there are other opportunities that might be better to pursue. But I really like how you said, how you described your story of going from like learning about self-development and implementing it, and now going into coaching. So you kind of gone like full circle. Is there something that you would recommend? Let's say somebody joins the podcast right now and never heard about self-development. Is there something that you would recommend as a start, like where to start from?
That's a really good question.
Because I find it sometimes hard, like we both agree that it's valuable to invest in yourself and to improve yourself. Yep. But someone who has never done it might disagree. So the first thing that he kind of like learns about might influence his opinion in different ways, So I was like asking this question, like what might be a good start?
I'm actually going to challenge your thoughts. If someone doesn't want to grow, someone doesn't want to grow. You're not going to, it's like trying to help an alcoholic sobering it up when he doesn't want to sober it up. For someone to get off of a situation, or it starts within. It starts from you questioning, I don't know, is there more to this life? I don't know, like, and it might start with some metaphysical questions, like, or maybe some more practical. Let's take the two sides. And some might be like, is there more to this life? What am I doing here? What's my purpose? What is it that I'm doing, right? I mean, there might be this macro or meta side, and then you might have the more concrete side. You know, when you hear, and it's very British, it's very British, and this is a massive drive for me. You know, when people, that has become over the last few years a massive drive. You know, when people are like, yeah, how you doing? Yeah, man, yeah, living the dream. Like, well, living your dream or living a dream, or actually your life is shit, and therefore you are trying to like force yourself to say that because you don't know what the dream is. So, and then about maybe success, or I want that car, I want that house, I want to fly first class, I want concrete shit, concrete. So you have two aspects, I think. The first is maybe the more and the more purposeful one, and then the more tangible one. But you will, a human being will never be happy with the fundamentally with the concrete one. It might start by that, going back to your question, it might start by how can I get this Ferrari that I really want? Or Maserati. In my case, it's a Maserati. It's on my mood board behind. But you will never be satisfied because it's just a good, and people want always more. Where that the success come from is where, and please define success the way you want. It doesn't have to be monetary. It can be someone who wants to build a school for children in Africa, or someone who wants to solve a medical vaccine somewhere. It's not financial, right? And a lot of people associate it with finance and money, but the more, and actually this is where I didn't like as well this training, like the more you dissociate money to success, funnily enough, the more money you'll have.
I know exactly what you mean. I know we're kind of not supposed to go into details on how that exercise looked, but I kind of agreed on your point when you stood up and when you spoke on why you're willing to go with the process. I kind of felt the same. And I felt that most people who kind of have the most money are not in it for the money, but for some kind of purpose. Like they have some kind of external goal outside of the money realm. It might be closely connected to it, to have like a really successful company that makes a lot of money, but it's not money that they want. Of course, there are a lot of people who only focus on money, and I get that. But I feel that there's still there's something that they want, like impress their older brother that's more successful than them, you know, and then money is the kind of vehicle how they get there.
So the money is short-lived. So in a way, and this is like things that are taught as well in the training, is like, you know, money is fluid and things, and it's like the more you help other, the more will come back your way. But now we went into the money. Now back to your question, like where they can start is, well, what need to happen? What do I need to be? No, basically, it's like, what do I want? And I think is where it starts for personal development is taking responsibility. Taking responsibility for what's happening to you. Taking responsibility for the results that you are getting. Taking responsibility for, and it starts by pointing out the excuses that you put on the table. Always, yeah. But then it's about what I want, who, and then you start developing some thoughts around who do I need to be to go where I want to, you know, to go, and actually then the next question that will become is like, what am I ready to, who am I ready to become to go where I want to go. And a lot of people, as Liz and Nicole say, like, want the convenience without the inconvenience. That, like, people want the good without like the hard work.
Yeah.
So it's an element around, and this is where I'm in by taking ownership and responsibility. Is you see the guy with a great ab and he's like, shit, I want that. but are you ready to go and be at the gym every morning at 7? I mean, are you? Yes, no, no, because the kid, no, because like excuses, no, because this, no, because that. Okay, so can't you do your ab at lunchtime? Can't you, like, or in the evening, or can't you do some other things, exercise when you are at work that will work out your abs? I mean, I'm just taking like a small example, but going back to the question about where to start, I would say that reading like Tony Robbins' book, "Awaken the Giant Within," is a fantastic start. It's that's one of those books. There is maybe I like Deepak Chopra as well, because his book are rather simple. Rather no, they are not simple. Like but they are rather some of them are rather short, which is the seven law of the universe, something like that. So the seven spiritual law of the universe, and that really kind of like help understanding a lot of things. It's funny, and because I know that she's not going to watch this podcast, but I have a friend who is, one of those person who is grumpy all the time, right? And but I mean that serves her well because she's a stand-up comedian, and like her grumpiness is really her persona, like what she impersonate on stage.
Yeah.
And but lately she has been doing some gratitude, and she's like, you know what? It's funny, like since I'm kind of like being grateful for things, great things are happening to me, and I'm like, dude, say, are you kidding me? And and I was kind of like laughing. It's like, why are you laughing? And then her grumpiness like came again, It's like, yeah, blah 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 blah. And basically, I'm grateful for three things each time I'm going to bed in the evening. And where it starts by little things. So don't necessarily go, very far, but so in terms of the what, it's really kind of like, as I mentioned, the meta, maybe something more concrete. How do you get there? Not being jealous, but taking responsibility. And then simple thing that you can do kind of like on a daily basis. And then the how, I mean, if you don't like reading today, like I'm audiobooking and I'm going to the gym anymore and every morning. And what I'm doing now, and I actually love that every morning at the gym, instead of like listening to some radio or listening to some music, I'm listening audiobook, because the thing is I don't have the time to then do that during the day. So then and I go back to the previous things is, as we all know, leaders are readers, right? And if you want to lead others, start by leading yourself. But to do that, you need to read. I mean, that's in the equation I just mentioned. So if then the challenge is like, yeah, but I don't have the time because I'm doing other stuff. Well, how do you make it fit? So audiobook work, where I'm doing it. Before I was doing it in the tube, going to work. Now I'm working from home, and I'm trying to find a way to fit it. So I'm doing that at the gym. At the moment, I'm listening a lot of Jim Rohn. Mm-hmm. So Jim Rohn, who is the father really of personal development. Well, there are two guys that I have really kind of like initiated it. One called Zig Ziglar. I don't know if you've heard of him. Zig Ziglar, and another, so Jim Rohn. And Jim Rohn was Tony Robbins' actually mentor. And in that case of, again, going back to that, the hustling that we mentioned earlier, Lisa Nichols, as she explained in her book and in her story, went 42 times to the training, to the seminar that she went to. She was in the psyche, in the mindset of the person who was on stage. She became the training, right? Yeah. Tony Robbins went so many times to Jim Rohn's training as well. Same thing. And at some point, it's like they are saying different things. They are different. One is a man, one is a woman, one is white, another is black, another is like different background. But you kind of like start tracing some of the stuff that works, right? And yeah, so it's at the moment I'm listening like a lot of Jim Rohn. So audiobook is a great thing. Where to start. I mean, I'm brainstorming with you, in like where to start is surround yourself by people who challenge you. Like it's like I'm just thinking a lot, but I love that. I love this conversation. Actually, it's more me talking than but like I went for a swim this morning, and I don't consider myself as a good swimmer, right? As an average swimmer. But you got 3 lanes, and lane in the middle is like medium fast, right? Well, medium, and then you got fast. And I started swimming there, and I soon realized that I was going faster than most people. So then a thought came. I was like, do you stay in that one or do you go in the fast one?
Mm-hmm.
And the response to that was the saying that a lot of people, I'm sharing for. If you are the most clever person in the room, you are in the wrong room.
Yeah.
And my thought was exactly that one. Like, well, hold on a second. I'm not going to be challenged by like the super triathlon guy who is in my back and is like, you are too lazy, you motherfucker. And like, swim past me. This excites me because they're like, oh shit. And now then you try to swim after him. This becomes kind of like interesting. And therefore it's kind of like more by being in the fast lane, and I was not the fastest and far from that, but I was challenged by going faster, not to be, looped all the time by the other, and kind of like myself working on it.
Yeah.
My analogy there is just like try to go one notch, above what you have. Try to surround yourself by something that pull you rather than drag you.
100%. I was thinking of asking you earlier about mentorship, and you answered that question already. I feel that and the people that you surround yourself with on a daily basis, it's like one of the most important things that influences us. I feel that throughout the last few years, I kind of stopped hanging out with people where I kind of felt a really negative influence with, and I just see the good results there. I also feel that meeting new people is a part of that. Like when the guy swims faster than you, after the swim, you should like get to know him and chat to him. Like
absolutely.
Recently, I started training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with a friend of mine that I met in the gym. And he has like 10 years of experience in martial arts, and in everything physically that we do, he's a lot stronger, faster, capable than me. And I chat to him all the time, like, how do you do this and how do you do that? And just kind of getting his mindsets into my brain helped me a lot. For instance, in the gym, he can bench and, like all the other heavy exercises, he does a lot better than me. So I kind of asked him, like, you don't look like you're very like bulky, but you do lift a lot more than some of the, these guys that are like super pumped, and he lifts more than they do. And I'm like, what's the secret, man? Like, how do you do it? And he's like, just fucking lift it. Like, don't overthink it, man. Just do it, And I was like, all right, that doesn't help a lot. But then next time when I was in a situation like that, I was like, all right, how can I make this? Like, where do I get the energy from? Where should I focus myself on? And I was just like, you know what? I'll just fucking lift it, and went into that mode. And it kind of felt like I absorbed a little bit of his behavioral pattern. And it kind of stuck with me, like every time where I'm in front of the like physically hard part, I kind of go like, all right, I'll just do it, and not overthink it. So yeah, I feel that helps a lot.
Have you read, well, actually I got it next to me, this book, The Inner Game of Tennis?
No, I haven't. I haven't even heard about it. What's it about?
You haven't? The book was written in the 80s, 70s. Book was written in the 70s.
Nice.
by a guy called Tim Galway. It's funny. This book was recommended to me by my N+2 at work 2 years ago, and that's one of the fundamental book in coaching that they told us to read. And the reason I'm mentioning it is there is a big concept in the book about what they call the self one and the self two. And the self one, in the example that you're doing, that like what you were, talking about, will be the one who said, no man, like, but you cannot like leave that. I mean, like, think about it. Like, well, hold on a second. That's probably your weight in iron. How can you do that? You're going to break your back. And actually thinking about it, when you will go back home, basically you won't be able to carry it alive. And then you start overthinking it. And the self two is like, fucking do it. Do it. You've seen someone doing it. And then your body, your unconscious know how to do it. And basically this guy was, I mean, and funnily enough, I saw a video of him. He's teaching people who have never been able to play tennis of how to play forehand, backhand service in 20 minutes. And you're like, how the fuck did that happen?
Yeah.
And basically, the concept is your self one, which is the one that is criticizing, who is judgmental, who is looking for approbation, who is looking for support, is the one who is going to injure yourself too, which is actually your subconscious who knows how to do it. Your body feel what is right to position with the racket in the right way and so on and so forth. Once you have seen your friend doing it from the jiu-jitsu, you actually know. Full stop. But then you start entering a question response in your mind that actually limits you without you realizing it. So that's why the just do it, the Nike just do it, and what you just said is fundamentally it has been studied and explained why, and the key thinker behind that is this guy in this book, The Inner Game of Tennis.
Nice. I'll definitely have a look at it. Olivier, thanks for the book recommendation. And before we go into a short break there, for everybody listening, if they want to connect, where can they find you?
That's a really good question, because I don't have like my website up yet.
Do you use social media maybe?
Yeah, on social media. So Olivier Simonnet. Well, I'm not just going to give my email. olivier.simonnet.online at gmail.com, olivier.simonnet.online@gmail.com. Mm-hmm. What I'll do is, as soon as I got my blog, which is at the moment it was called Master Yourself to Success, but I'm going to change it. So it's going to be called My Growth Mastery, and the intention is to help people inspire themselves, as I mentioned. I'm in the process of sorry.
Do you maybe use LinkedIn?
Yeah, so they can find me on Olivier Simonnet on LinkedIn. Yeah, as well.
All right, we'll leave the links to that below in the video, and we're off to a short break, and we'll be right back. I want to talk to you a little bit more about social media. That's one of the things where I'm spending some focus on in the last 2 years, and I want to hear your opinion on it.
Yeah, cool.
The Uncle Gold Podcast.
Welcome back, everyone. After this short break, we're here with Olivier. In the first part of the podcast, we were talking about self-development. We mentioned on companies and improving them a little bit. We went into some books and interesting people to follow online. And right before we went into the break, we chatted a little bit about social media. And I remember that my journey kind of started there around 2018. I was following Tony Robbins and of course a few other people online. And one of them was Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he's a lot in social media, and he's a huge proponent of like being present online. If you have a business, if you have any kind of product to sell, that you should be on social media to sell it easily. And he kind of convinced me that that's a good idea. I know that before like 2018, there's maybe like 20 pictures of me on Facebook. And then I kind of got into it. I started working on it a little bit to kind of see how it feels, just to kind of like go into it. And I really did like it. I like the process of creating something and like forming the idea and to make it work for each platform individually. And we mentioned LinkedIn there. I use it a lot for my work, like basically 8 hours per day I'm spending there to kind of connect with people and chat about their businesses and what their business opportunities are, and kind of bringing everything together for them. But I wanted to hear from you, like, what are your opinions on social media? How do you use them? Let's go into that discussion a little bit.
So what I'm thinking of social media, it's a great thing, and it's fundamentally, it has changed the way we communicate, for the good and for the bad. Discuss, right? You can argue both sides. Where it becomes a bit unfortunate is when now communication just is through that sort of like aspect. But it has done and do a lot of good as well. We're not here entering the conversation of data mining and how Cambridge Analytica has through social media influenced things to go one way or the other in different elections in the globe. But you got people consuming and people using. A lot of, if you listen to Gary, yes, it's being out there, but it's out there to produce and to give. Now, a lot of people are just taken without distilling what they are taking. B, without any sort of like judgment. And this is where it's kind of like something that is extremely powerful yet extremely dangerous. And well, it's dangerous because it's extremely powerful anyway. But I think it's a fantastic tool when it comes to selling, to reach out to your target audience, to get your message across, to build followers and fundamentally helping others. Because if you build a group of followers who are following you because they like a given topic or something, they find something that excites them and they are happy to be, they are getting something out of it. So fundamentally today you can reach someone who is in India and or someone who lives in Argentina in the same way, because they will like Borna's podcast. Yeah. When were you able to do that before? Never. So it has the reach is just amazing. But it's how do you? I think the how do you become from a user and to a producer? How can you benefit from it and use it to your advantage rather than just being used? Really?
Yeah. I feel that there's a huge connect there between that marketing world on social media and the, let's say, art of the sale and sales in general. I feel that a lot of people got stuck in the, all right, let's use marketing to drive sales and kind of use social media to get more sales. But I wanted to chat to you as well. Like, you've met a lot of people. What do you notice about how they're selling, and just generally how do people approach sales? I feel that that's kind of related to self-development a lot, because it takes the communication part, also the confidence part, like kind of where you're going with the conversation, the product, the marketing, the self-representation. Basically a huge kind of combination of a lot of things that we touched on earlier that's connected to the topic of sales, especially the money part. I feel that some people are kind of too stuck on that, and then they go for the hard sale to kind of close the deal as soon as possible. And some people don't want to be greedy, and then they're like too soft in the sale. But give me your opinion. What do you think about sales and the process that people usually use?
Well, I think you summarized it quite well. You've got different school of thoughts, but I think to sell you need to. It's a question of value. Sorry, let's rewind for a second. It depends if you want to have a short sale that is short-termist, or if you want to have a long-term revenue stream from maybe a small number of people, right? At the end of the day, you got, as I mentioned, two schools of thought. Either you try to target 100 million people, and you try to sell to 10,000, or you have 10,000 people and you try to sell to 10,000, because there are people that value what you are saying, what you are sharing, what you are offering, what you are giving them, right? Today, you need to, I think, offer content. You need to offer value. You need to offer something before selling. Selling becomes then the natural follow-up from it. So it should be in between what you said, in the sense that you shouldn't shy away from it, because it's a natural thing, and value as a price. If you bring something that people value, people will happily give something. It's a trading, it's an exchange. So, and that becomes normal. Well, so then if you are in the hard push, I don't value that, and I don't think that is fundamentally sustainable.
I agree. I don't like the hard push. I don't like the feeling of, oh, now you have to. Like, I always get like, stop telling what I have to and what I don't have to do, right? It's like somebody trying to oppose their will on your life, right? Like, how do they know, like, how do you want to live, or what's good or bad for you, right? So I always preferred the, like, all right, here it is. If you want it, it's available approach, so I can approach it that way, and I don't like to be too pushy with people. Sometimes it's actually really hard, because most jobs go for kind of like setting goals and targets on how to achieve sales and stuff like that. So I believe it's kind of important to find the balance between that. Sometimes putting more energy into the sale, kind of like putting more energy into presenting the idea why that product is good, why that product can be useful for you, and how the service is great, right? I feel that more energy should go into that, but not in the do it now or you have to, like, kind of making it mandatory part. So that brings me to the next topic, actually. I just mentioned it a second ago, and I know that when somebody listens to this podcast, you will find elements of it there from before, but we have to go into the topic of goals, because in this whole self-development journey, goals are one of the big topics and one of the big solutions, actually, to a lot of problems and a lot of kind of like questions that people have. Tell me, Olivier, do you set goals for yourself?
Yes.
How do you do it? How do you approach this whole goal setting? Like, do you have a routine how you do it? Do you focus on the steps first or first the outcome? Like, tell me more about it.
I don't think I'm the most proficient there, but that's a process that I'm going through. At the beginning of the year, for example, this year I've put some goal for the end of the year, with my coaching. Now, obviously, COVID and stuff has changed the perspective. But I think that there are two things here. There is the goals and the journey. And you need to embrace the journey as you embrace the goals. And you need to I think the goal might change at time because the journey has created other avenue, other routes that you hadn't thought of. Now, being single-minded and focused, it's great. You got a point, and whatever is in the middle, you extract and you focus. But this is why I think the element of and that goes back to conversation that we had earlier around the object or the purpose. It's like, if I want the Ferrari, well, it's kind of like, why do I need to do that? When it becomes the purpose, is goals come from the purpose sort of thing. How am I going to fit into the purpose through specific goals? And then the goals might actually change. So I think that some stuff that I've done is I've laminated. So I've structured some goals for the year by quarter, and then what I'm doing kind of like a few months. And then it's almost as you got here again, different school of thoughts is you are going to have one school of thoughts who will be, okay, then you take it, you laminate them, and I've done that for a few, and you remind yourself all the time what they are. Another school of thought is like, okay, now you got your goal, leave them aside. Leave them aside and let your unconscious work it out. Now, you need to be committed, you need to be going for it. But in terms of the how, it's not your problem. When you fly Dublin to LA, you don't know what the pilot is doing. What you did is you bought your ticket. It was like, okay, I bought my ticket. I want to go to LA. All the detour and the thing that the pilot is doing, well, you don't know, right? And this is where your subconscious, your unconscious will kind of like work it out in terms of the how. So, and this school of thoughts I really like is like, okay, so set a few things and then let him think, and that's kind of like a bit more my style. Now, hustle and make sure that you are in the here and now and do the things, right? Is you need to set goal for the future, but live in the present. So, and in the present is like, how am I, what I'm doing here today will help me getting where I want to go, right? And this is the question I'm now asking myself. I'm not going to say all the time, but often, is how we only have, I mean, let's put it in a different way. For someone who doesn't have goal, you only have 24 hours in a day, of which you are going to have to sleep a third of it, of which you will probably work for a third of it, and then you got like a bit of time left, a third. So the question is like, what do you do with your time? And how do you optimize it or maximize it? Or let's put it in a different way, just use it. So use it will be, okay, so you're using your time. So are you using your time for you, for others, for what is it? And then actually, as you cannot do everything, it's impossible to do everything.
Yeah.
You need somehow to prioritize. Somehow. I'm not saying that everyone needs to prioritize all the time, but somehow, and it's something that we do naturally, we prioritize. My wife, my kid, my job, my project, your podcast, whatever it is. So, in the fact of prioritizing, you are lining up what your key values or what is important to you. So fundamentally, without you saying it, you have your set goals. I want my kid to have a good education. Therefore, I am go and I want to be liked, or I want my kid and I to have a good relationship. Therefore, I will be at school every day at 4:30 to grab her or grab him.
Uh-huh.
That's an objective. You haven't structured it as such, but then therefore that has become your priority. So what becomes your priority becomes your goal. Now, the question is, do you keep them unwritten, unspoken, or do you spell them out and write them somewhere? And Jim Rohn like said that it's funny. I was like listening to something about him. Is like a lot of people are going to spend more time planning their holiday than they are going to plan their own life. A lot of more people spend time planning things that is just irrelevant. And when it comes to their goal, they are not spending 5 minutes putting that on paper. So going back to my point before is because that sounds the way you ask the question and the way people interpret it most of the time still seems a fucking daunting task. It's like, whoa, hold on a second. But actually, at the end of the day, it's when you unveil it and unpack it, it becomes rather simple and things that people are doing already somehow. So it's just kind of like maybe structuring it a bit more. And then actually thinking about it by I guess the goal setting goes hand in hand with procrastination. And the reason I'm saying that is because often people don't want to set goals because they do not know how to start. They fear to fail, or that maybe seems too big for them. And then it's about, okay, so if my goal is to write a book, is well, shit, that's very difficult where to start. But then it's like, okay, can I write 10 page a week? Well, I don't know if I can write 10 page a week, it's like very difficult. Like, okay, so can you write one like half a page a day? Yeah, I think I can. Right. Okay. So then you start kind of like chunking it down to things that you can do. And as soon as you can do and take action and start moving forward, well, then this is where it's kind of like your actions become, or your goals become actionable and simple, then you can move forward with it.
Yeah, I agree, man. You touched on so many cool points there. I believe chunking down goals is a huge point. That's kind of how I approach it at the end of the year. I take something that I would really like and then kind of separate it into a few parts and try to follow it throughout the year. Also, you said that the goals might change. I think that's also a big one. I think people aim for the Lamborghini and kind of have to change it along the way because maybe it takes them a few years to get there and then a new car comes out that they like more. So they go for a Maserati, This is just a simple example, but I feel that a lot of stuff can change throughout the year. And even like if you said long-term goals through a few years, a lot of stuff changes. And the most important thing is you become a different person, actually. Like you're not the same as you were in high school. Like you changed a lot, like thoughts, actions, where you live, how you live, what you do on a regular basis. And that's kind of the next topic where I want to go. But I noticed that when I set my goals, I definitely have more energy and kind of more focus towards stuff that I'm doing. And it's not even about if you achieve something great or one, it doesn't matter. If you have something that you're going for, you're kind of more like, oh, I have something to look forward to throughout the day. And I noticed for myself that it generates more energy for myself. Have you got the same experience there? And do you maybe have some daily routines that you're doing on a regular basis to kind of get more energy or kind of like to structure your life in a better way?
So two things here. The first is the energy that you're talking about, and then the routine. The energy, and I'm going to throw another book here called Ikigai.
Ikigai, the Japanese method.
Exactly. And the Ikigai is when your passion, your vocation, your profession, and your which one did I say? Passion, vocation, profession, and I'm missing the fourth one. Anyway, and like when that comes into one, and that actually you are in what you call flow, and the flow is when the 10 minutes appear as 2 seconds, and we know that sometimes 2 seconds appear as 10 minutes, and this is where you are out of flow, and this energy come from really the fact that you are the purpose, you are the action, the activity, the whatever you do at that point in time. And this word in Japanese, ikigai, which means like flow, is really something that back in October, I was in search of what is my flow. What is it that, so I did some personality test and tried to understand my style, my strength, my where am I feeling the real me? Where am I the most authentic? Where am I, and when am I glowing, right? When am I at my best, right? Yeah. And this is hard. I mean, it's a question that, going back to what you said, where can people start? Is, well, instead of at time focusing on your weaknesses, try to identify where you feel good in what you do. And it might be in front of an Excel spreadsheet. It might be when you talk to people. It might be when you are outside, or it might be when you are inside. It might be when you kind of like the light is white, or when it's dark. You know, there is no one, and everyone has a different. But flow, you can be in flow, and this is what they explain in the book. When you are writing a letter, it goes with the fact of being present. You are here in the now, right? And this is where the energy comes from. So that's for the first part of your question. I'm still trying to remind what the fourth one of the Ikigai is.
It's mission.
Mission. So profession, passion, vocation, and mission. Indeed. So that's the first part. The second part, at the moment, what my routine is gym in the morning, meditation, work, food, and then I'm studying for the coaching. Mm-hmm. So studying, and then some stuff on personal projects, about personal development, and a company that we are trying to build with a couple of friends. So that's at the moment the routine. I really like this. I've made my own, but it's what Tony Robbins called, the hour of power, the power hour, in the morning, where you wake up and have an hour where you do some breathing exercise, where you do some physical exercise, when you try to get ready, in shape, in motion, and energize yourself, and then win the day. And then that's something that is quite important to me in how I'm now building my day.
Mm-hmm. Do you like jump out of bed ready, or does it take you time to kind of get into it?
I'm not a jump out of bed ready guy, but this is because I'm a bit of a night owl as well,
Mm-hmm.
and it's difficult to combine both. It's difficult to finish late in the evening and to be like all pumped up in the morning. So you I love like at my let's is just like I'm waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I'm taking like a cold shower and like whoa dude, okay. So you get some hardcore nurture, in different places. Cool. But then in a way, like it has been like a 400 million empire. You don't get there without a bit of hard work. But the jump out of bed, 5 o'clock in the morning, cold shower, and like now that's just. But um, but yeah, it's kind of like it's funny. Kind of like last week, I've been to the gym. It was the 4th day in a go, and I didn't want, and I was like, I command my body, and just like go out of bed. It's just the I'm using at the moment my body to reach my mind.
Nice.
And yeah, it's that's my routine. And I've moved flat. I've like lately it has been very difficult to have a routine. Because of travel, I mean, you say like, but there are travel restrictions. Yes, but I was away as we discussed. But when I was away, I loved running by the sea in the morning and doing my exercise on the beach, and that's one of going back to it. That's one of my goals.
Nice. I love
That's
that.
one of my goals to have my house on the beach,
Mm.
and that's not the case yet, but I'm working on it.
Good luck with that, my man. And I 100% know what you mean. Before coming to Ireland here, I spent the whole summer basically on an island that has the most sunny days in Croatia. And I was working there for a friend. He gave me kind of the freedom to do whatever I want. He wasn't even there, so I kind of ran his like small tourist agency rental business on my own. And it was really great. Like, at one point, like there wasn't a lot of work there because like the season is relatively short in Croatia, so there were a lot of days where like nothing would happen, and I would spend like a few hours there, and then in the morning, in the middle of the day, and in the evening, just go to the beach a few times, swim, run, work out, meditate, like a bunch of these things, and I felt amazing. It was just like a great combination of a lot of really good things. And that's actually the first time where I started meditating. I know that you mentioned earlier that you started with it. I can't remember. What did you say? Was it this year or last year?
Well, meditating, that might be now 18 months ago, something like that.
Mm-hmm. I started in 2018. Yeah, it was middle of 2018. And it feels great, man. Like it's great to kind of like center yourself and to gain your focus on things, and kind of to clear your mind and also to focus your mind. I also found it great, the Wim Hof method. I don't know if you heard about Wim Hof. That's amazing for everyone listening. I would highly recommend checking out the Wim Hof method. It's actually very simple, but it's highly effective. And so many people just report having amazing results with it. That actually helps with the cold showers in the morning as well. I haven't been doing cold showers in the morning, but I usually do like after training showers where I go from warm water to cold water as much as I can, so it kind of gets your blood flow going and then kind of shocks you out of the tiredness, and then you're kind of like good to go, so it's a cool little cycle to create there, and I love doing stuff like that.
Now, how do you go? Warm to cold or cold to warm?
Warm to cold. So I start where it's kind of feeling nice, because
and then slowly like, okay, cool, I will try the trick.
And I do it actually, like the first part, you kind of like shower in the warm water just for a few seconds, put the shampoo on, clean yourself, wash yourself out with the warm water. And then as you're coming towards the end of your shower, just kind of like reducing the temperature of the water. That's the routine there.
Okay, I'm fine.
Tell me, Olivier, I usually, and as we're going kind of towards the end of this podcast, I usually save the money part for last, but I felt that we already touched on it a little bit earlier when we were talking about goals and basically how to frame it around money. Do you have some maybe tips and advice for people, or something that we didn't mention yet about how to create more wealth in life and how to maybe structure it better?
Where to start? Where to start? Yes, I guess. Well, I mean, there are a few things that we said that can apply to wealth in the same way. Talking about peers, talking about surrounding, talking about knowledge, talking about mentor, talking about story that you are telling yourself, all these sorts of things, until you still believe that money is the root of all evil, or that the rich people are stealing from the rest, or is it won't go anywhere. So there is a psychology part of it, and then there is the how to part of it. And like anything, if you're not interested, if you're not interested in getting a nice body, you are not going to have the body you want, right? If you're not interested in having money, you won't have money. So if you want to make money and keeping at arm's length, it's not going to work. You need to nurture. You need to nurture. You need to love it. The reason I'm smiling is like, you recall in this training that we built a song, and I reworked the song and I laminated it and I put it in my shower. And but now because I move flat and stuff, I don't have it like by heart in my mind. But it's kind of like sweet honey money. And basically you need to nurture and cherish money as sweet honey. And yeah, I loved singing it at the event in front of like 500 people. And yeah, now I'm really happy with what it is. But as far as the how, what the Warren Buffetts of these words are saying, and Tony Robbins. I mean, there are three secrets. I mean, there are not thousands of secrets, right? There are three secrets. Is like, pay yourself first, diversify. And just like the idea came in and just left. Pay yourself first, diversify, and look at the risk reward ratio already. And well, sorry, fourth, look at the risk reward ratio and the compounding, right? So those I think are the four things. The first one is pay yourself first. Is like, if you don't put money somewhere before paying all your taxes, all your stuff, and you will never have a pot to start with. And whatever training you go to, wherever you start from, even if it's 5 a week or 10 a week or whatever it is, they all say the same thing: pay yourself first, right? Then diversify. Don't put all your eggs in the same basket. Have different bucket. Can be property, it can be stock, it can be private company, it can be whatever it is, painting, wine, whatever you fancy, right?
Yeah.
That's the second thing. The second thing is your risk reward ratio. The rich are rich because they understand the risk reward ratio, and the risk reward ratio is not 1 for 1, is 1 for 5. Is like, I want to have 5 back for 1 invested. And this is where they found the deal that bring them. Is I know that doesn't exist. Yes, those exist, but you need to know. You need to speak with people. You need to. It's all that sort of thing. But it's the same thing as money has for others. And the second thing, which is what Warren Buffett called the seven wonder of the world or six wonder, which is the compound effect. Is one today is not equal one tomorrow, because one will make 1.1 tomorrow at 10%, and then that will grow and that will grow. And actually, interestingly, that will grow exponentially.
Yeah.
It will grow exponentially. So those are, I think, the 5 principles to 12.
Awesome
but
stuff, man.
Sorry, if so that's all those 4 are on the how, I think, about wealth. But the technicality of it, but having read about it lately, there is a massive, and I go back to that, which is what I started with around the mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And you can know the how to if you don't know, if you are not in the right space to start with. And this is where I will link the gym as well to this. Your body is your vehicle. If you, well, now you can say, yeah, but I know a lot of people who are wealthy and who don't look after themselves. Yeah, cool. But if you are not in shape, I mean, how are you going to enjoy the money you are making? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. So yeah, that's my thought on it. I don't know if that makes sense. But,
It does. It does. You put it well together. I usually heard those concepts kind of separated from each other, but you kind of made it really concise.
Which one do you hear separately normally?
The 5 that you just mentioned, right? Because usually when people talk about how to, they're like, all right, have a different account for this, or they talk about stocks, or like, this is how you should do it, or like pay yourself first. I heard in the Automatic Millionaire book, and it talks about that and the principle of like compounding, but it doesn't mention diversifying, you know.
Then each one I talked about, Borna, you can. There are sub branches, there are sub elements to it. How do you diversify? You know, what stock do you buy? Do you buy the tech stock at the moment? And where are you getting information for that? How much like reading are you doing in the Financial Times, or and so on and so forth? How are you pay yourself first? How are you going to automate that? You know, which account do you have separate accounts, and do you use something like Revolut, or do you use something like Monzo, where you will find some new funky technology that allow you to do, and then each one is a research on its own right, you know.
Yeah. It is. I just love how you put it together. You know, it sounds very like the Olivier formula for financial success.
Yeah.
It sounds good, man, and I think that's how people should approach it. I felt a lot when I spoke to people at the event there that the last part that you mentioned, the mindset part, is actually holding them back a lot. And I feel that, for instance, when you set up your accounts and everything that you're doing, that a lot of it can be actually automated with finances. Like, you tell your bank to, you know, like, divert a few % of your money into a savings account. That's basically one phone call or one trip to the bank where you do it, and then it's set in place, right? But having the mindset of like, oh, okay, it's okay for me to be rich. It's okay for me to be successful. That's where people struggle, because I feel that a lot of people have bad associations with how they perceive rich people, because a lot of people think like, oh, rich people are bad, evil, greedy, you know, and then they never allow themselves to go for it, because they think that they will have to become bad, evil, and greedy to kind of get there. So mindset is a huge part, and I feel that's what we have to work on. And I hope this podcast kind of helps people to, you know, like, change their mindset a little bit and really go for it, and allow themselves to go for the things that they want in life. Tell me, Olivier, I always like to end this podcast with like it's like a success mindset motivational quote, or some thoughts from you that goes out to the listeners. Do you have some parting words that you want to say to everybody listening right now?
Oh, um, I have two that comes to mind. Um,
Do it.
the first one is, well, I might have other that comes to mind when I'm saying that, is like the roots of 1,000 miles start with the first step. You need to start somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And the other is not being the person you are or you should be is the waste of the person you are. It's like if you try not to be yourself and be authentic, it's like a waste of actually who you are. And you have strength. We all have X factor. We all have, as Les Brown put it, like extraordinary in us, and you don't want that to die with you in your deathbed. We all have inner power, for what some people say, um, and it's just you need just to believe in yourself. Um, and this is where I think education, learning, a lot of people don't know how. And this is where your podcast come in play. And this is where my future podcast will come in play as well, is how do you help people with strategies, with planning, or with systems, or with what are some of the elements that you can help people realizing that, hey, actually it's not that hard, right? Sorry, let me put it in a different way. It's not that difficult. It is hard often, but it is not complex. And the reason is, what is easy, what is simple is not very easy most of the time. You know what to do. If you want to lose weight, you know what to do, but it's not easy to do it. And a lot of things we know. And I guess this is maybe, should I end up with kind of like a Tony Robbins quote? It's like, when you turn, you should, it must, you must pay yourself first. You must wake up at 6:30 to put your trainers on and to go to the gym. It's not as there is an option. Stop thinking and listening to this self one. Just fucking do it, as a brand that we all know, say. And it's action will trump knowledge all day long. And at the end of the day, people need to take responsibility, and don't be envious, but be responsible, and own things. And it's not easy, but blame and compassion is addictive. So people love to be, when if you look at the news, you never have a news where everything is going well. Everything, the world is crumbling, everyone is crying. I mean, that sells. If you go to someone and say, like, how you doing? And then people are like, oh, you know what, I'm not doing good at the moment, blah, blah. And you listen. If someone is saying, yeah, everything is great, it's amazing, it's like, whoa, okay, cool, man. Well, I want to talk to you because I have a problem and I want to share my problem. People want to share their problem. But I guess be authentic, turn to action, turn your must into should. Or, no, turn your should into must. Turn your should into must. And I guess take responsibility. And there is a cause and effect. And just as you action, that create momentum, and then the universe is. So I'm bringing here the concept of your beloved Les Brown and Tony and Deepak Chopra and all that, and then the universe will respond. And a lot of people It's funny. I was speaking with someone about the book, The Secret. It's like, what is the secret? Just the secret is just fucking do it. That's it. And what I mean by that is when you start putting things in motion, things happen.
Yeah.
That's it. Things happen because then, and that goes back to maybe your first question, and we close the loop here. When I raised my head up when I arrived in London, I found that maybe if I looked at the shit on my shoes, I wouldn't have seen that ad and I would pass in front of it. And my life would have been very different.
Yeah, I agree. And then it looks like your mind attracted it, but you actually took the action that was necessary to change your life.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well said, man. I really like your message there, and I feel that it will resonate with a lot of people listening. For everybody who's listening, thank you very much for being here. It was a great podcast. I know it's a little bit longer, but I like this longer format where I can really talk to people and get some really good insights into how they approach things and how their mind works around some situations that can really help other people in their life. And Olivier, thank you for sharing all the information. Thank you for all the tips. I would really like to hear from the listeners and everyone who's watching on the YouTube channel. Leave us a comment. What did you like most? Which part resonated with you? What's some of the things that you maybe didn't know how or never heard of in your life that kind of feel like that you might want to implement in your life? And leave us a comment also. What are some of the things that we didn't touch upon? Something that you might want to hear in the next podcast. Yeah, and Olivier, I'll leave the links for everybody below so they can find you online. I wish you best of luck with your projects and everything. And thank you for being on the Uncle Gold podcast.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Borna.
Thanks, man. Thanks, everybody, for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.
The Uncle Gold Podcast.